Hello, everyone. Thank you once again for joining me on this episode of my Oracle Networking and Security series. So, today I want to bring in a new project, which is Project 5 within this series. And this project is based on a cloud capability within Oracle ecosystem for that is called Cloud Guard. And this capability or service is actually what is called cloud security posture management. So if you have worked across cloud, Azure, AWS, GCP, and some other even third party that are not hyperscaler, this is one of the major tools we use in managing, vulnerabilities within cloud landscape. Oracle has its own native cloud tooling here, and that is what I want to show us. And it's called Cloud Guard. So when you come to identity, if you come to your Oracle CI console, come to identity and security, you will see Cloud Guard here. You see Cloud Guard here. So this is the page. And so that is what I want to do. That is what I want to build around today. So Cloud Guard as a tenancy-wide detective control. So that is one thing I just want you to take there. That is a tenancy-wide detective control. Yes. It continuously scanning for misconfigurations, and it does do auto remediation, for most critical, findings, if that is the way you configure it. And a custom detector recipes that escalate public bucket findings to critical from high, so that is what I want to demonstrate. And a security zone on the workload compartment or any compartment that we choose as a preventative control, and also the last one I want to show us is a capability that allows you to do like weekly post vulnerability scanning across all your workload or instances in your workload. So if you follow what I'm trying to, what I'm saying is that Cloud Guard, allows you to do a tenancy-wide detective control. And what does that mean? It means that it scans for misconfiguration and can provide an auto-remediating, effort while doing that if you discover anything that can be seen as vulnerability or threat. So using what is called Detector recipe, then that is a capability, scan, respond. Then the other capability is the ability to prevent even misconfiguration in the first place. That is third one. So the last one is having be able to scan maybe like once in a week to know if there is anything that slipped through these three pipelines that I've already mentioned that needs to be detected and looked into as well. So that is what I want to see there. So when you look at my screen here, I don't have the right licensing to enable it in my environment right now, full disclosure. But what you want to do is that you just come down here and you say enable Cloud Guard. So when you do that, it will take you through some pages, like it will ask you for the compartment, your tenancy region, and the compartment, some just one or two information, you just provide them or choose it and you see enable, and that is enabled. So, but one thing I want to tell you is that this workflow, allows you to point to a target. If you look at what I have here, and the other thing is that it allows you, the second thing layer in the workflow is that you can detect, like I said, you can detect something and you can respond to that problem. So if you look at the workflow here, is that after it's enabled for a target, the service can detect, it can create a problem, and a responder recipe can respond to that if that is the way it's configured. So that is that for Cloud Guard. And while that one is going on, let me just back up a bit and go and show you my slide deck. So I think is a Cloud Guard is a security, cloud security posture management capability within OCI, and you can see what I'm talking about. It's like detective Cloud Guard, auto remediation, recipes, preventative, which is security work zone, and assessment, which is vulnerability scanning assessment. So, let's do this. Now, like I said, to enable it, these are the steps. You select the reporting region, you click what? Cloud Guard. You click enable Cloud Guard. So, is a cloud security posture management that continuously scan your entire tenancy, OCI tenancy, for misconfigured resources, risky user activities, and security violations. That is that. Now, It says free to enable here. No, everything is not free. So know that. So tenancy-wide observability, visibility. One security score and risk score across all compartments, regions, and resources type. Problems surface to single dashboard. That shows that this scanning and everything goes on, but at the end of the day, the report and the result and the report comes to a single dashboard across the tenancy, across the compartment, and yes, so that you can operationalize it from that single point of pane of glass. So it's Detector respond, detect a problem, then respond to realize the workflow. You can see reporting region is permanent. Findings from all regions are aggregated and displayed in the reporting region you choose at the enablement time. So that is that. Okay, so let's look at the creation of target. So target resource, what cloud guard monitors. Now here, set it to root. That shows that when you set to root tenancy, every other compartment under that tenancy will be included in the monitoring. Yes, it will be included. So then detector recipe, the true set or the root set, sorry, that defines what count as a problem. So the data recipe is what says, okay, this is something that is a problem. When it's scanning and measure what it's the findings against the recipes. That is when it fire whether it differentiate whether this is a problem or this is not a problem. And when something is reported as a problem, the next thing that happens is that if you have recipe for responding, that will respond and it might auto-remediate or maybe escalate to humans to intervene in the loop. Then the scope, problems, recommendations, and responder activity all scope to these targets. So your target, we always have a target resources. We have a detector recipe and responder recipe, and we have a scope. So let me show you how you can get to that. So for instance, if you get here, you go back to identity and security, and you say you want to, let me say, go here. Okay, a sec. Go to recipes. From recipes. Okay, where are you? Zones, targets. Okay, targets. So if you look at here under cloud guard, you will see configurations here. So when you click on configurations, you'll be able to see here at the left-hand side, you will see targets, you see settings, you see manage list, but the major thing I want to show us is target here. So this is where you create your target, and I've explained the components, the settings that is required to set to give it a target. Maybe I want to say all around tenancy here, and I want to say yes, that name too fit for description, and I want to say it's target the root. That shows that everything under the root will be here. Then you talk about configuration detector recipes. You can see here that shows that OCI configuration detector recipes is Oracle managed. Then the responder too, activity detector recipe, sorry, is Oracle managed too. So you can see the detector for configuration and the detector for activities. Because for instance, if you are creating a bucket, a storage bucket, that is what we call configuration. But when you are using a bucket, you understand me now, and maybe you are using a bucket, you are putting some files into it and stuff like that, that is an activity. So we have a recipes too, not just to discover when it's created, or it's provisioned, but even when the activities are going on with those resources. So instance security recipe. So here you can say, okay, you can see this is another one instance as well. You can security ones, then containers now. So you can put container. You can see some are for activities. Those are some of the recipes. Some are for a particular a particular object, a particular resource, which is container in this case. Some for configurations, and yeah, and the other one is for security. So now you now go to responder recipe. So you can see here, this is what happens. What do you want happens when any of these recipes, like the detective recipes kind of fires? Do you want it, like I explained, do you want a remediation? Do you want an escalation to human? So these are the things that you will set here, and you will create your target. So that is how to create target. Now let's move it forward and talk about the detector recipe itself. So if you look at my screen now, you will see that I have a step here, like a lab here, that says that you can only clone an existing Oracle, manage recipes. I showed it to you when I was creating the when I was creating the target. So now you can only clone them. What you do is that you have an existing one, but you can modify it. In this kind of, what I have here is for you to clone a particular recipe you find a bucket that is open to the general public internet. What I mean, internet. But when it was opened, it was labeled as high. Now, what you want to do in your cloning is to escalate it to critical. So you can click through it and change the level and save it. That is that. So now it was medium before, maybe a high before, but now you've escalated it to critical. You customize it. But according to Oracle, settings and settings, it was high. But now you say no, you don't want it because you've assessed your risk. And based on your use case, you've determined that, okay, this shouldn't be something that we want to label, in terms of severity as high, but rather critical. So that is what I did here. So let me take you back to that page and let me show you how this work. So let me go back here and say, we go back here and we go to recipes, and here you will see detector recipes and responder recipes. I've told you before that one is to identify the problem, then the responder is the recipe that says what do I do, or that says, okay, this is what you should do when this happens or this happens. So okay, so while that is done, you can come here, you clone. I've said that it's cloning. So here you want your recipe compartment to be root or whatever it is. You can see the list of the recipes here. You understand my point now? So you can see this is OCI configuration detector recipes, and you can see OCI activity detection recipes, and you can see, security instance. You can give it name, maybe whatever it is that you want to give it, like detector, maybe a recipe, maybe one, and you want to just give it something. I love giving my objects, descriptions. It takes some time, but it's okay. So compartment, you can put that again, recipe compartment and everything. Then you can go ahead and say you clone. You understand, partner? So you don't have that authorization anyway. So, but that is just the way to do that. So that is how to to clone a recipe, and the other thing we follow. I still want to show us again. You'll get back to that place. I don't like the way Oracle navigation cannot just go back, but we still have to. So we look at the recipes here. Recipes. So you can see we have responder too. So if you are cloning responder, almost the same thing, almost the same thing. So no, nothing. It's just the way you do that. So so that is how the workflow works. It works from you enable, your cloud guard. And when that is done, then you create a recipe like detective recipe. Then you create responder recipe. Then when something is detected that deviates from the rule of the recipe, then a problem is created. When a problem is created, that triggers the recipe for responding, and whatever statement or rules you define in that recipe of responder, the next thing is that it take that action, whether to do that particular thing or to escalate to other workflow or human. So let's move forward to the next capability. So the next capability here is our security zone. Now I have explained to you when you enable Cloud Guard how you create recipes for detecting and responding. And now, so all those things, they are not preventative, they are reactive, but this is a preventative capability. This is a pipeline, a workflow that do the job of proactive, or preventative, capabilities. Okay, so if you look at what I did here, I can say, okay, prevent public exposure of workload resources at the OCI API layer. Security zone maximum security recipes, Oracle maximum security recipes, compartment. These are just click. This is just the way to do that. So try to create an object storage bucket in this particular compartment with public access enabled. It must be denied. So that is that when you configure this. Okay, so bad resources is created. Cloud Guard detect it, create a problem, responder eventually fixes it. time to remediation is maybe minutes or 2 hours, depending on the mode. But when it comes to that is detective versus preventative difference we are looking at here. Then when you come to security zone, it's preventative, like I said. A bad security creation attempted OCI reject it at creation time. You are trying to create, when security zone is enabled, you are trying to create maybe a bucket that is open to the public internet because it has been defined to, and scope to that zone, security zone. Then it's just tell you can't do that. And the next thing that happens is that you don't have any time, no remediation time. The violation never happened in the first place. So that is the beauty of security zone. Security zone block at the API layer before the resource is created. If a Terraform applies or console action faced with security zone violation, that is the control working correctly. It is not an OCI bug. So that is that. Note that. So best practice: run both security zones and detective and responders, recipe. Run all of them. Should in case so from being created, CloudGuard detects bad resources that exist despite your controls. Legacy. So let me put this better. Best practice: run both. Security zone prevent bad resources from being created. CloudGuard detect bad resources that exist despite your control, maybe as a result of legacy config or drift, or manual bypass. All of this is part of your defense in depth, having multiple layer of defense that can help you, move forward. Like help you secure your environment. Okay, so let's look at what is called post vulnerability scanning. So this is another capability within your cloud security posture management or cloud native, security. Yes, posture platform. So let's look at this. Before I talk about this here, let me talk about it in our. Let me walk you through the console. So when you're at the console, you can come here again, and then you can come to scanning. So then when you are coming to scanning here, you can see this is vulnerability report. There's no vulnerability. There's no scan or scanning that has happened here before. So that is why we don't have a report here. Then when you look at the scanning report here, we don't have as well. Both vulnerability report and scanning report we don't have. But if you look up here, you see container images. That is to tell you can look at scanning or report that pertain to images. You can see report that pertains to open ports or whatever. You can see those ones that pertain to hosts. So you can see that these are the three targets here. So if you go back to vulnerability report, you will see that it's everything here, everything here. Then you look at targets. You can create a target here. Like, okay, what do you want to target? Is it compute? So I wanted to look at this. You can target compute, or container image. You can give it a name, look at create in compartment. Where do you want to create this particular target? And look at the scan recipe compartment. Where the scan, where do you want the scan to target? So these are two different things. And under the repository, you can look at all repositories in the selected compartment or selected repository in the selected target compartment. So your target should kind of highlight where you want that scan to cover. Sometimes you can have a very big or let me say large workload that you want a selected compartment or maybe repositories to be scanned. So these afford you the opportunity to choose from those. So now that is said, I've shown us how that can be done from the console here, and then we can move back to display. So for instance, you can do is I have a lab here that is called a host scan, CIS, that shows so compartment is a security compartment, agent, scan level. I want it to be level 1, so I want to scan all ports, from this to this full. Then I want it weekly, so actions, create the recipe. So that is how it works. Then you talk about the target. You call so this is the recipe first, scan recipe. Then you talk about you create the target. I want the target to be for this workload, compartment, and all the instances in that particular compartment. So result appears 2 to 3 hours, 2 to 4 hours, just for you to know. And filter by critical and high CVEs to prioritize remediation. We all know that when you have your vulnerability scanning and you have the report, the next thing is that you want to look at effort. You want to put in, the effort on those ones that are very critical or high. So you want to look at their CVEs, for risk scoring. So if you look at the CIS level 1 benchmark here, what standard scan can check? It check for OS patch level. It check for open ports, user account without MFA, file system permissions. Maybe something is open to everybody or word right, like here. Network configuration, maybe there's IP forwarding, firewall rules, maybe that are weak, and service hardening, unnecessary service running. Yes, that should tell you that if there are services that are run that it doesn't serve any purpose, it will report on all those things. So this is what host, or let me say vulnerability scanning does within your cloud security posture management, talking about Oracle Estate. Yeah. So then let me just put this into a mental model. So we have a mental model here that kind of put everything I've been saying together. And like I said, detector recipe, the kind of scan engine, then problem is created, then responder respond, and resolution happens. Responder dictate what happened at the resolution, whether it's going to be auto-remediated or maybe something is going to happen. So the recipe will dictate that. But the rules available here is that, for instance, you look at 10 responders rules available from, you can see cloud event, delete IAM. You can see if a cloud event happen, notify. If it deletes, if IAM policy is deleted, remediate. You can see some are classified as, you can just let us know why some will say, oh, I want you to take the action that have been defined in the responder, recipe. Okay, so let's look at activities. Let's look at configuration problem. So still activity problem equals already happened, both demand different investigation. So if some things are happening, you can say we want to react, you want to act on it, prioritize it, or we just want to do best effort. So the triage workflow start with critical plus high. Your P1, P2 incidents. So 2, filter by compartment to scope impact. 3, configuration type equals resources T at risk. Remediate now. 4, activity type equals event happened and investigate the timeline. 5, match as resolved only after root cause confirmed and fixed. Never dismiss to clear. Never dismiss to clear the count. So please, these are the things I can, that I can see from documentation and some of the experience that I just put together here. If you look at here, activity dictator rule here, you see that database system terminated is high because it should be high. Why should any database be terminated? Why should it be stopped or maybe like purged or deleted? So, but if an image is exported, it says minor. Image is imported, it says minor. Instance termination is high. But one thing is that in other maybe use case, image export can be high as well. The reason is that your image, maybe it depends. Your image could contain something that you deem very, very important or very important. So that I'm just saying that you have to uh, look into it differently. So now I have explained. So now we look at the how all 4 control layers, kind of stick together, or let me say work together or fare together. I like using that word, fare together. So you see the security zone, what it does is to prevent, only covers newly created resources, does not catch existing violations. So if you have an environment, a legacy environment where there was no this kind of capability running before, now you want to enable it, that shows that it can only prevent misconfiguration moving forward. But those one that has been done, the backward compatibility needs cloud guard and custom, recipes to handle that, especially Detector. Yeah. Then you can still respond that here. Then vulnerability scanning too will go a long way to help you to be able to, deal with your backward, misconfig, drift, and stuff like that, like I've explained here. Okay, so yeah, so it will help you with all those things. And I think that is clear enough. Then let me just wrap it up here that Cloud Guard enables tenancy-wide custom detector. Like when a bucket is created and it's open to, public internet, auto remediation can say, okay, maybe close that port, or close, yeah, that port. But security zone on workload, we prevent it from even happening at all. So weekly CIS benchmark vulnerability scanning will help you discover and source to the surface, the surface vulnerabilities that slip in, without you knowing, maybe through one way or the other, and you'll be able to have these layers of defense, within your cloud security, within your cloud workload. So that completes this episode, and thank you again for joining me. I kind of use a slide deck uh, plus console walkthrough just to demonstrate this particular episode. Thank you once again. See you on the next one.